Bonjour mes étudiants, comment ça va? J'enregistre ce vidéo. I'm recording this video dans une autre pièce de ma maison, in another room in my house. Il fait nuit au dehors, it's nighttime outside. Et donc, j'ai plus de ténèbres sur le visage. Pour cela, je suis désolée. I have more shadows on my face in this lighting, and for that I am sorry. Mais en même temps, but even at the same time, ceci semble lié à notre sujet aujourd'hui. This seems linked, nevertheless, to our subject today. I'm going to talk to you today, and there are not a lot of bells and whistles in the video itself. I'm going to go slowly over one slide in particular and talk to you about a figure who, if you're going to learn French at all, I really think you should know him. In fact, if you're going to learn literature at all, I really think you should know him. He's one of the great geniuses who has ever written in the European canon. His name is Charles Baudelaire, who is also one of the most shocking and reviled literary figures. And he wrote a poem called Invitation au voyage, invitation on the journey, basically, and to the journey. And it's a poem that doesn't have very complicated language. People who are in beginning levels of French seem to be able to handle it just fine. People who are advanced learners of either literature globally or French are still challenged by some of the deeper meanings here. I write critically about Baudelaire, as well as I can tell you that he is one of the great influences in my own work. I bothered to learn French because this man wrote poetry and I wanted to understand every syllable of it. So whether you like him or not, I can promise you I have spent a lot of time listening very, very carefully to every syllable out of a Baudelaire poem. And so I'm giving you what is called une explication de texte, which means I basically explain what the heck the text means. Some of my students read this poem last week, and they wondered what on earth I was talking about, or rather, what Baudelaire was talking about. And so je vous donne une explication de texte et un devoir créatif. I'm giving you creative homework. Entirely up to you how it goes. So I say in my dreamscape of a room, let's get. This is a photograph of Charles Baudelaire. He was alive in the mid 19th century. Notice the intensity of that gaze. Would you feel comfortable if you were riding on a streetcar and a guy was staring at you like that? I would not. Charles Baudelaire, un des poètes les plus talentueux et controversiaux de son époque. Baudelaire a été à la fois très talentueux, comme vous allez voir, mais aussi il a fait beaucoup de controversies avec ses œuvres. Je vous explique. He is controversial. He is talented. Let's take a look at what made him so. Comment il choque ses lecteurs même aujourd'hui? How he shocks his readers even today. I'll explain to you who's in the picture. He drew a picture of his mulatto mistress. And his work could not be more frank about their very complicated relationship that was by no means entirely healthy. So here are the things that he does to shock people. 1. Il écrit de sa toxicomanie sans en excuser. On s'excuser. He writes about his drug addiction. La toxicomanie is the word for drug addiction. Baudelaire was particularly addicted to heroin, or rather not heroin, but opium, raw 19th century opium that you would smoke out of an old pipe. And he may have died of that addiction, but he may have also died of madness associated with syphilis and a generally over extravagant life. He was very committed not to sex, drugs, and rock and roll, but to a life of what he calls volupté, which means basically sex, drugs, and rock and roll, only rock and roll is not the art that you're appreciating. Il écrit de sa toxicomanie sans en s'excuser, without excusing himself, without apologizing for it. Il écrit très franchement de ses actes sexuels avec sa maîtresse Jeanne Duval, dessinée par Baudelaire lui-même à droite. This is very surprising even for a French writer of his day. He writes basically sex poems about the stuff he and this woman in the picture he's drawn do together. And they are not exactly vanilla, not exactly, more like psychologically not vanilla. And people just don't write stuff like this and publish it back in the mid-1800s, even in France. The French are not generally prudish. The very fact that Jean Duval was part black really probably prevented him from going to prison for writing about a woman in this way. Because it was thought then, as it is now by racists, that black women were more sexual somehow, which of course, you know, depends on the woman how sexual she is or is not, independent of her race. This one in particular was a particular problem. Il écrit des poèmes à Satan. He writes poems to Satan. He writes one, for instance, called Hymne à Satan, hymn to Satan. Like he's in church singing a hymn, only it's to Satan. And it's not just one poem to Satan. He seems to have kind of a crush on Satan. Again, remember how he was staring at us possibly while we were sitting on the streetcar. The man had issues. That's all I'm going to say. He had massive, massive issues. People are understandably, given the religion of the day, shocked by his discourse that was pro-devil. Il écrit sans remords pour ses péchés sur tout rapport. He writes sans remords, means without any guilt, without any remorse, pour ses péchés sur tout rapport. He writes without any remorse for his sins. Péché, it looks like a word which means to fish, but péché also means, spelled exactly the same, sins, one's sins. And then sur tout rapport, that's an expression in French that means on every level. Sur, on, tout, all, and rapport means report or relation. So I'm going to say the whole sentence again. Il écrit sans remords pour ses péchés sur tout rapport. This man is not asking for forgiveness. He is all about he talks about in his book, The Flowers of Evil, Les Fleurs du Mal, how everybody's a hypocrite and we're all going to die and it's all just meaningless, society's conventions. So what we should really do is we should party, we should get drunk. He writes a poem called Enivrez-vous, which is about getting high or drunk. and he writes a whole section of the poems that are called Le Vin, as in wine, but he really means drugs, honestly. Um, uh, L'amour is also something he suggests people get drunk on. Love, but he doesn't mean love. He means sex. So sex and drugs. And then there is no rock and roll. Chuck Berry has yet to record a recording in his era. So he instead talks about artistic beauty, and he calls that la beauté. He thinks we should essentially get high off of sex and off of whatever substances get us high, and we should admire great beauty in art as effectively like a drug. That is essentially his philosophy. So he is shocking. And then the last sentence here that I've written is Ces œuvres sont interdites par le gouvernement pour presque 100 ans. His works are banned, forbidden by the government for almost 100 years. The French did not go around banning stuff. There were other countries, ours included, that liked to ban texts that it deemed obscene. The French are pretty chill, but his lesbian Satanist poems were just a little much, and they are graphic. There is no doubt about it. And also, honestly, I think it's because the sex is weird. Briefly, I'm going to tell you this much in English because this is a beginning class, but I just want you to hear what this is. He writes a poem about a time when he and this woman, again in the picture, Jeanne Duval, are on a trip by coach. They're taking some kind of coach, and they get out to stretch their legs. And when they get out, they see a dead cow, and it has maggots. And he says even the maggots are coming out of its vulva. And he says about how beautiful her eyes are and how sexy she is. And then he says, but one day you'll be like this cadaver, my dear, my love. It's way creepy. If they were listing their relationship on Facebook, it would be, it's complicated as relationship status. Nobody should date Baudelaire. Everyone should read him, but I would want a restraining order while I was enraptured by his poems. I feel very sorry for Jeanne Duval. That cannot have been the best thing to be in that relationship. Here we see his face drawn as part of the frontispiece for Les Fleurs du Mal, his single work. He dies quite young in his 40s from several possible causes, probably related to his addiction. And here's what I wrote. Toutefois. Toutefois means despite that, anyway, anyhow. Il demeure. Il demeure means he remains. Un poète respecté, a respected poet du 19e siècle. Notice how 19th century 19e siècle is written. You see Roman numerals. We don't do that when we write a century. We don't indicate it with Roman numerals. Nous sommes dans le 21e siècle. We're in the 21st century. If I were writing this in a French piece of writing, I would very likely use a Roman numeral XXI to indicate the century number. You will see this if you ever are a tourist on plaques and things like this as a shorthand for, instead of writing out 19e for 19th in longhand, that's why you see the Roman numerals. In any case, Baudelaire remains a respected poet despite having been banned and having been a complicated dude. Et maintenant, nous allons lire ensemble un œuvre par lui qui s'appelle Invitation au voyage. We're going to read together a work by him that is called Invitation to the Voyage. warn you, I'm going to go over this slide very slowly. I'm going to read, and at the end of every sentence or stanza, depending on how it ends, I am going to explain. So we're going to be parked on this slide for quite some time here. And you can also hear me read these gorgeous words. My God, he's a good writer. Whatever else was wrong, that was right. Mon enfant, ma sœur, songe à la douceur d'aller là-bas vivre ensemble. My child, my sister, think. Songer means to sort of think, but in a dreamy way. I'm daydreaming rather than analyzing. If I'm trying to solve a complicated factual problem, I wouldn't use the verb songer, which is a regular ER verb, which basically means to think in a daydreamy way. Songe à la douceur. Think of the sweetness. D'aller là-bas vivre ensemble. Of going there, over there, vivre ensemble, to live together. Remember, they're not married. We're going somewhere. Aimer à loisir. Aimer et mourir au pays qui te ressemble. One of my students asked if this poem means what it really says, because it's a little strange. Poetry often uses metaphor in a way that allows us to understand what it's talking to us about in the language of dreams. So what he says is aimer à loisir, to love at leisure. I think that's clear. And in the Victorian era, anywhere that there was European civilization, there wasn't a ton of loving at leisure. Let's be honest. They were, corseted and things. Aimer à loisir. And that sounds cool, I guess, in a sort of, weekend getaway way. Aimer et mourir. To love and to die. That's how you know you're dealing with a complicated dude. I'm not sure I'm accepting this invitation by the very fact he seems to be planning our death as well as our orgasm. Aimer et mourir au pays qui te ressemble. Pays is country, and qui te ressemble, that resembles you. To love at leisure, to love and to die in the country that resembles you. Okay, that's mysterious. How could a country resemble a lover? We have to think about that. And also, why are we going there to love and to die? Why can't we just love? Why are we planning to die? Les soleils mouillés de ces ciels brouillés, pour mon esprit ont les charmes si mystérieux de tes traîtres yeux brillants à travers leurs larmes. We know this relationship is complicated by what he just said. Les soleils mouillés. Wet, the wet suns, meaning it's sort of humid and rainy, even though we see the sun. Sometimes it does rain outside when the sun is out. But remember, it says wet. I'll get to that in a minute. De ces ciels brouillés, of these foggy skies. Pour mon esprit ont les charmes si mystérieux. For my spirit has the charm so mysterious. De tes traîtres yeux, of your treacherous eyes. Your eyes that don't just give you away, but are somehow betraying me. De tes traîtres yeux, brillants, glowing à travers leurs larmes, glowing through their tears. Notice that the sun has water running past it, but it's really sunny out, so it's not really a rainy day. And this woman, she's got these treacherous eyes that are glowing through their tears. And together that suggests that her tears are somehow crocodile tears. She's faking being sad the way that it's faking being a rainy day on a sunny day where we are going in this country. And then he says something that we call a refrain. A refrain, or in the French say le refrain, is this phrase. Là, tout n'est qu'ordre et beauté, luxe, calme et volupté. He repeats it 3 times at the end of each of his stanzas. There, tout n'est qu'ordre et beauté. Nothing is anything other than order and beauty, luxe, luxury, calme, calm, et volupté. Volupté is the sense of an overdose of sensuality. It's like, oh, you're too sexy for your shirt, but it also suggests that you're out of your shirt having sex. So it's a place where there's both order and beauty and luxury and calm, and yet the passion of a particular luxurious indulgence. So that's where we're being invited to go. Des meubles luisants, polis par les ans, décoreraient notre chambre. Already we're in an interesting place. It doesn't quite feel European. Des meubles luisants. The furniture, les meubles, luisent. They're glowing. Glowing pieces of furniture, polis par les ans, polished by the years. We're in some place that's vaguely ancient, maybe Gothic even. Décorerait notre chambre. Would decorate our bedroom. Les plus rares fleurs mêlant leurs odeurs aux vagues senteurs de l'ambre. The rarest flowers mixing their fragrance. Odor is never a pleasant word in English, but the French use it for both good and bad smells. So the rarest flowers mixing their fragrance aux vagues senteurs de l'ambre, with a vague scent of amber. Les riches plafonds, les miroirs profonds, la splendeur orientale. The rich ceilings, the deep mirrors, which suggests that they too are kind of murky and glowing the way that the furniture is. La splendeur orientale, oriental splendor. Where are we going? Geographically, this is not perhaps Europe, if we're in la splendeur orientale. Tout y parlerait à l'âme en secret sa douce langue natale. All right, let me explain this last bit. Tout y parlerait, everything would speak there to à l'âme en secret, to the soul in secret, sa douce langue natale, its sweet native language, or you might say mother tongue. And this is an idea that Baudelaire has, and it's so popular, he basically starts a movement called the symbolist movement on this idea, that things in our life speak to us. That it's not just that nature speaks to us, but that nature is evocative of psychological states. So here we have furniture and mirrors and fragrances, rich ceilings that are speaking to the soul in secret in its native language. So that we are having evoked unconsciously things that are being brought to the surface. And then again, we hear là, tout n'est qu'ordre et beauté, luxe, calme et volupté. There, nothing, everything is only order and beauty, luxury, calm, and we might even call this volupté, voluptuousness. Uh, but it's not about the body per se being, ample, but more about the body, pardon the expression, getting off in any number of ways. So, all right, we've been talking about Oriental splendor in the second stanza, but here we are in the third stanza, and suddenly it doesn't feel quite as exotic to someone from Europe as all that. Vois sur ces canaux dormir ces vaisseaux dont l'humeur est vagabonde. See on these canals. Where are their canals? There are canals in Venice. More close, though, than Venice to Paris, where they would have been having this conversation, at least hypothetically, is Amsterdam. Vois sur ces canaux, see on these canals, dormir ces vaisseaux dont l'humeur est vagabonde. Let me translate that second part. These vessels, we assume boats, sleeping, dont l'humeur est vagabonde. What that means is that their mood is vagabond, meaning they could kind of take off any old where. They might just wander around those canals. They're not business boats. They are chillaxing and wandering around boats. C'est pour assouvir ton moindre désir qui vienne du bout du monde. It's to satisfy your least desire that they come from the end of the earth. So we are being showered with exotic goods, which suggests that we're probably in Europe, and we're probably in a place with canals, and the nearest one would be Amsterdam, a significant city for international commerce with the Orient. So we can conclude this is about Amsterdam. Or is it? Les soleils couchants revêtent les champs, les canaux, la ville entière. D'hyacinthe et d'or, le monde s'endort dans une chaude lumière. The setting suns redress, not redress like redress wrongs, but restyle in the sense of like, oh, look, you're wearing something new. The fields, the canals, les canaux, la ville entière, the entire city, with hyacinth and gold. With hyacinth and gold. Two exotic and distinctly Eastern things that for there to be in a European city. Le monde s'endort dans une chaude lumière. The earth falls asleep. The world falls asleep in a hot light. Once more we hear the refrain. Là tout n'est qu'ordre et beauté, luxe, calme et volupté. There is not all is only order and beauty, luxury, calm, and voluptuousness. So that's our invitation from Baudelaire. What could it be that he really plans? Qu'est-ce que cela veut dire? Qu'est-ce que cela veut dire means it means. This means. Qu'est-ce que cela veut dire? What can this mean? This invitation. Au surface du texte. On the surface of the text, Baudelaire parle d'un voyage à Amsterdam avec sa maîtresse. In a very simple way, I could read this poem and only get that he wants to go have, a booty call weekend in Amsterdam with his mistress. We got canals and wet suns and exotic goods, which certainly are available in Amsterdam. But wait a minute, in Europe, a very likely place I could score some opium would be Amsterdam, not unlike today. Mais il parle aussi d'un voyage psychique et sexuel. But this poem, I'm saying when I say il, mais il parle, it speaks also of a psychic and sexual voyage. I mean, I think anybody who's, you know, into someone particularly that they are getting closer with want to do something like a mini honeymoon to sort of go on a voyage, you know, between the sheets as much as go see, you know, the lake or the mountains. But this is more than that too. This is also a voyage somehow between the ears. Remember that he talks about how everything in that room they're going to stay in is speaking in secret to the soul in its native language. Well, that's not your, I mean, where do you rent that? You know, what do? You call even the Ritz-Carlton and you say, I want a room that speaks to my soul in its native language with its furnishings and its fragrances. They don't list that. So there is something else going on. It's not just the room and it's not just the town, wherever they are, probably Amsterdam. They're going on a sexual journey of abandon, aimer à loisir, but then also aimer et mourir au pays qui te ressemble. That's messed up. We're going to love until, you know, love until we die in the country that looks like you. What is that? It's got to be in the language of dreams. Poems often talk about things in the language of dreams. Therefore, we are in a strange place, to say the least. What we are doing is we are being taken not just on a journey, but on a trip. He implies, avec la splendeur orientale, il parle aussi d'un voyage sur les vapeurs d'opium. If you really wanted to rebel in the mid 1800s in Europe, you went to funky chinoiserie decorated opium den and overpaid for opium, which you might smoke like this man. That was a thing. Où vont-ils? Where are they really going? Here's what they say, or rather what Baudelaire says, aimer à loisir. Aimer et mourir au pays qui te ressemble. We're going to a country that resembles us? That's between the ears. That is not, I mean, I look Dutch. I don't, to my knowledge, have a drop of Dutch blood, but I have often been told when I go to the Netherlands that I look like I'm absolutely from there. I don't take that as an insult or a compliment, but it is strange. But I am quite sure that Jean Duval and Charles Baudelaire don't look like your average Dutch person. They're a little short. They're a little, you know, swarthy. They're a little weird. And so that cannot be what it means when he says to his lover Jean Duval, au pays qui te ressemble. What is the country that resembles us? I mean, in a way, for me, that country is not the Netherlands, where I seem to share some kind of hidden strand of DNA that makes me look vaguely like I'm Dutch. But New Orleans is for me because I feel at home here. I feel like I am understood and understand here. So even though I'm not from here, C'est un pays qui me ressemble. It's a country that resembles me. And then he says over and over again this thing which is interesting because you've never been to this place and neither have I in the physical world. Là, tout n'est qu'ordre et beauté, luxe, calme et volupté. I have never been to a place where everything is order and beauty, luxury, calm, and voluptuous abandon. That is a state of mind. That is not a political state on planet Earth where people are just at once totally sexually liberated, living in luxury, calm as can be, and operating in order and beauty. I love Amsterdam. It's a beautiful city. I really have enjoyed quite a lot of time that I've spent there, but I would not say that that is a description of Amsterdam, nor is it of Venice, nor is it of any other place that I've been on planet Earth. Stuff is complicated, but not in this poem in terms of the continent we're going to go visit or the city we're going to go visit. So I say donc, which means thus, so. Il voyage entre quatre murs aussi bien que par train vers une destination fixe. They're traveling between four walls as much as they are traveling by train to a fixed destination. They are going on a magical mystery tour. Et maintenant votre devoir. Now here is your homework. I chose this picture. It need not be like this at all. I'm asking you the following. Obviously always optional. Écrivez un paragraphe sur un voyage. Write a paragraph on a voyage. Touristique ou psychologique. Tourist or psychological. Touristique is touristy, I guess we would say in English, but for tourists or psychology, que vous rêvez de faire. Que vous rêvez de faire does not mean necessarily that you've been there. Where would you like to go and what would you hope to do or see there? I would like a paragraph on that in French that you can email me anytime between the time you watch this video and the next class. If you want to participate. I think it would be fun if you read it in class, but nobody is required to. I am happy to help you. I look forward to our next meeting by Zoom, of course. So I'm going to go take a journey to the center of the mind, as the Who once sang in a psychedelic concert. No, I'm not. I'm going to go drink some Diet Coke and go to bed. But I wish you well. Good night.